Hello again, rail fans, and welcome back to the CSX W&A subdivision in downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. On this cool morning of January 22nd, 2022, we were anticipating a southbound grain train that passed through Dalton at around 7:30 a.m. Once we got here at around 9:30 a.m., there was an advanced approach aspect for a southbound train, but no, it was not the grain train. It was southbound manifest Q583, and a rather short Q583 on this day, being just under a mile long. Finally, I got to see a new rebuild CM44AC in the YN3 paint scheme, but of course, the first time me seeing it, it was a mid-DPU. But hey, my luck would change in about 30 minutes.
CSX Equipment Defect Detector milepost 25.6. No defects. No defects. Total axle 318. Train lane 5039er. End of transmission.
Well, I guess my wish came true. Not 30 minutes after Q583 passed, our next train would have quite the treat leading the consist south. And my dream that finally came true was that fresh rebuild CM44AC in the YN3 paint scheme numbered 7014. This train you're seeing here is southbound empty phosphate K823 heading back to Winston, Florida, and then into the Bone Valley region. Now let's talk about that southbound grain train. Now we never saw the train on this day, but it would have been a pretty cool catch if we did. Now the lead motors were as normal, a GEVO and then an AC 4400, but the third engine trailing was 7929, an XLMS-8, which is, I believe, the only one in service, but don't count me on that. But right after this train passed, we got a notification on Facebook that he took the W&A in Junna in Cartersville, which turned him right around onto the Etowah sub northbound to the plant in Bolivar, Georgia, about 15 miles north of Cartersville on the Etowah sub. So that meant he was out of the picture for the day, and we just went on with our day. Just about an hour later, we're set up just north of Acworth, waiting on some northbound that had a clear signal to south end of Acworth siding. Once he called North End Acworth, I realized this is a train I haven't seen in almost a year. Northbound daily double-stack Intermodal, I-142, out of Duval Ramp in Jacksonville, Florida, back to Osborne Yard in Louisville, Kentucky. Going through at track speed. After I-142 passed, we heard the dispatcher giving milepost numbers to something over the radio, but then we came to realize it was just a high railer, so here's a quick clip of it.
Let me know when you're ready to stop me. Over.
After the high railer passed through Acworth, everything went pretty much quiet for a few hours, so we headed up to Cartersville to get a bite to eat. And as while we were eating, Q581 had passed through Kingston at around 1:30, and the time was 2. So that meant he would be here any minute, and about 10 minutes later, he would pop up around the corner. And just like 583, 581 was not very long on this day either. And something other to notice is that the defect detectors don't give train lengths anymore, just the axle lengths.
I never said it. Equipment defect detector. Milepost 47.4. No defects. No defects. Total axle 324. End of transmission.
Q581 would be the last train that we would see on this Saturday, until 2 weeks later. And here we are again, exactly 2 weeks later, back out on the W&A on Saturday, February 5th, 2022. We're set up just south of Acworth at CSX's cement plant that they serve every once in a while. As Q581 rounds the corner at a rather slow speed, the track speed through here is around 40 to 45, and he was going only around 25. The reasoning is because the railroad was pretty bottlenecked this morning, which I'll talk about in a minute. And yup, as you can tell, no tripod on this one. The reason why I didn't get my tripod out is because I was expecting him to come around the corner a lot faster than he did. The first thing that I want to note about this train is that it had an AC 44 liter, which I haven't seen in a pretty long time. So it was pretty nice to see that. But the reason why the railroad was so bottlenecked this morning and that Q581 was going slower than normal is because when we started out, there was a southbound a day on track 1 with no crew, and then we headed up to Kennesaw to where Q648 was sitting on track 2, but he hadn't left yet. So that meant nothing could come north or south and both tracks were blocked. So I was very confused to hear Q581 called clear at South Acworth, and both of those trains haven't moved yet. And the reason why we were coming up here is because Q648 was about to move, so that'll be the next train that we see. After Q581 passed the cement plant, we came into town and set up at this S-curve for 648, which we presumed he would be on the move after 581 cleared through Moon, which we weren't wrong, and in about 25 minutes he called clear South Acworth. And this is a new spot for me, which I thought this video came out pretty well, so if the lighting's good, I may start doing more videos at this spot. I guess the last train for the second Saturday would also be in Cartersville. We're set up for northbound auto rack train Q260. It's under the profile Q260, but it also carries intermodal and sometimes mixed freight, which today actually had no auto racks. It was just mixed freight that looked like it was supposed to be on Q542, and intermodal for the Appalachian Regional Port in Crandall, Georgia. Q260 is a new train to the W&A/Etowah subs as he comes out of Baldwin, Florida and goes to Queensgate Yard in Cincinnati. Once he gets to Cartersville here, he'll take a northeastward turn onto the Etowah sub and heads north towards Cincinnati. He'll make a stop in Crandall to drop off those intermodal cars. Now, if this day couldn't get any more weirder, you may be wondering to yourself, why is this train crawling through Cartersville? The track speed for Etowah trains is actually 30 to 35 miles an hour, but what I heard was the train at first was having PTC problems, but then once he got to River Holdout, he came to a stop and said that the signal wasn't displaying the right colors, which basically means the signals aren't showing anything other than red. So he had to stop at River Holdout, get permission from the dispatcher to go through it, then get permission to go through the red signal here at Junna, onto the Etowah sub, and then permission again at K&AY, and then so on at South End Wyvern Siding before clearing through here.
No defects. No defects. End of transmission.
Well, Q260 has stopped for the third time now. Yeah, and the end of him is right there. Q260 got his move on and headed north out of Cartersville onto the Etowah sub, and it was our time to head back home. It was already nearing 4 o'clock, but I'd be back out in about 3 weeks, so you're going to see all the trains that I saw on that evening in just a moment.
Going from the
It is now February 22nd, 2022, during my winter break off of school, so we would take this evening to our advantage and head out to the tracks. Even though we only saw one train on this night, it was definitely one of the best catches of the year for me so far. T736 would be the one train that we would see on this night. T736 is a southbound loaded coal train out of Corbin, Kentucky, bound for Charleston, South Carolina. And by the horn on the leader, I'm just going to let you guys guess, but you probably know what this locomotive is. Yep, that engine would be a brand new ST-70 Mace, leading this coal train south towards Atlanta, notching his throttle all the way up to make it over the grade here at Kennesaw. And to make this train even better, another fresh rebuild CM44AC would be serving as a rear DPU. And just 2 days later, we're back out at the tracks on the evening of Thursday, February 24th, 2022. So we would start out on the Etowah sub, anticipating a northbound empty ethanol train, K47419, which had just cleared through Cartersville at around the time that we got here. So we would take our time finding a spot, and this is where we stayed, in the middle of a cow pasture just south of the community of Rydal, Georgia, as K474 would pass through the field with a solo UP Jibo leader heading back to Bensonville, Illinois. After K474 passed through Rydal, we made our way into Cartersville, but pretty much everything was dead, so we went to go get some dinner, and we came back to Junna with a high green. So we decided to move our way on up to Kingston to come see the derailment scene and to shoot the train, and as you can see, the cars are still here from a week after the derailment happened. The train that's about to come through is Q582, and he can only go through here at about 25 miles an hour because of the train cars on the side of the track, and because they just redid the track from the derailment. After Q582 had passed, the north end signal at Kingston siding heading southbound showed a restricting lined into the siding, so that meant a southbound was coming, and we would see him in just a few minutes. After a few minutes of driving, we would find our southbound in the siding in Martin Marietta, and once we crossed the tracks, the crossing started going down because he was already on the move again. And our southbound is, I believe, don't count me on this, G521, a Memphis Junction, Kentucky to Rockmart, Georgia grain train. Look where we are, my favorite spot on the W&A, Adairsville, Georgia, but that's besides the point. Our last train of the night would probably be one of my weirdest catches of the year so far. X603 would be the train. Yeah, you heard me right, X603, a symbol that's completely different for the W&A. The reason why I'm saying this is so weird is because X603, numbered usually Q603, runs out of Waycross, Georgia and heads south for Winston, Florida, which isn't anywhere near here. So with a great K3LA, 2 Y&2 AC 44 liters, and just over 6,000 feet of train, X603 would have no trouble heading south through Adairsville. Later into the night, one of my friends would tell me that X603 actually ran out of Wauhatchie down to Winston. I don't know why CSX did that, but it was a pretty cool catch because I probably won't ever see this again.
CSX Equipment Defect Detector. Milepost 67.62. No defects. No defects. Total axle 416. Train lane 6156. End of transmission.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you get notified each time I make a new video, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. But until we meet up again next time, this is Georgia Rail Productions saying so long from Outpost OW&A 68.4.